Hello family, welcome and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are well and I hope you guys are safe. Let me tender a quick apology to all of you because this video was supposed to go up last week, but I didn't get a chance to edit it, so I had to put up another video about my university, and I hope you guys enjoyed that as well. Anyways, now the video is coming up, guys. Thank you so much for staying a part of this family. Thank you for being true to yourselves. Thank you for supporting and for always leaving comments. I appreciate you guys and I do not take it for granted. If you're new here, welcome. This channel was created just for you to teach you loads of sewing tutorials like this one and other craft tutorials as well. If that sounds like something that you will enjoy, please go ahead and hit subscribe as well as the notification bell so you don't miss out on awesome content that I have for you. To all my OGs, welcome back. You guys know how much I love you. Thank you so much for your love, and you guys enjoy the video. So for this, we'll be starting with the basic bodies, and if you don't know how to draft a basic bodies, go ahead and click the video that I have linked in iCards above as well as in the description box below. So the first thing you want to do is you want to start with the front piece, and I know that you can't really see the dot lines because I use pencil, but don't worry, you get it. So go ahead and close the dot lines, and as you can see, I'm closing the longer dot, the shoulder dot, and I close it towards the armhole area. Hold it in place with a paper tape. Don't use sellotape because that's really hard to get out. Use your paper tape. Now, the next thing you want to do after doing that is you want to decide how low you want it to be. So for this, I did something like a sweetheart, but not exactly like a sweetheart. I didn't want it sharp. So as you can see, it's not really sharp. And that was very intentional because sweetheart necklines can be really hard to sew. Not like I can't do it, they just stress me more, and I didn't want to be stressed because like this was like 2 days to the event, so you know, girl was just like, let me make something real quick. Okay, so I went ahead to mark the neckline that I wanted, and I went ahead to mark the shoulder width as well. Now for the neck depth as well, I went ahead to mark about 1 inch. I didn't want it too deep because I wanted it to be like a high neck because there was an illusion net part. So after drawing out the desired neckline, I went to hit draw it as well. So the sweetheart or the deeper neckline is the actual neckline for the main fabric, while the other one will be like illusion net. I'm sure you guys get what I'm saying. So go ahead and cut out the neckline as shown, and then cut out the other part as well. Now it looks like we're almost done, guys, but we actually are not almost done. Now take out the paper tape, and that's why I said use paper tape and not sellotape. And what we're going to do at this point is we're going to make sure that it fits really nice because it's net, so you want it to like just lie on your body and just sleep as if it was, you know, it was tied to your body. So the next thing you want to do is at the bottom, depending on how busty you are, you want to mark 1 centimeter to 1.5 centimeter on each side, and then you want to take it from the top and just match, you know, the beginning of the dot. So you're not changing the beginning of the dot at the top, only at the bottom. You're only making it wider, and that's just slightly tighter. Then go ahead and close it as you would, you know, as you did before. So you're closing it towards the armhole area. Now when you close it, you'll notice it doesn't match at the bottom, and don't worry, don't fret, we can fix that. Now for that, just take a scrap piece of paper, anything that you have, just a small piece of paper, and then you go ahead and add some paper tape to cover it up, and we're going to go back and reshape it. So we're going to use the end points that we had before as our shaping point, and as you can see, I just drew a curve and it's all done. So go ahead and recut it, and that's all done for that piece. You can label it piece 1 so that you're on the same page. Moving on to the other front piece, take out the paper tape, and this time you can trash it because we don't need it anymore. Now if you marked 1 centimeter or 1.5 centimeter, mark the exact same thing to the left and to the right of the dart legs of this one. As you can see, I'm marking it at the top. So I marked 1.5 centimeters, so I marked that to the left and to the right, and I went ahead to redraw the line, and I used the barrier. So I hope you can see this time. I know it's really faint, and I do apologize for that. Go ahead and cut out your pattern pieces as shown, and as you can see, I labeled it. So the illusion part is part 1, the center front is part 2, and then the side front is part 3. Cut it out as shown. And if you guys want to learn how I do the shaping to make sure the bust sits really nice, the circumference, the empire area, or that's what you guys call the underbust, let me know and I will explain in details. Moving on to the back piece, you want to go ahead and close the shoulder dart as shown, and this time again you're closing it towards the armhole. So again, for the front we close towards the armhole, and for the back you close towards the armhole as well. I have a video on how to do a bustier as well. It might be helpful for you to watch, so I'll link it in iCards above as well as in the description box below. Now make sure the shoulder on the back, the shoulder length on the back matches shoulder length on front, which is what I use. So I place the front on it, and I kind of use that as a template to mark the shoulders. And then after doing that, that, I went ahead to mark the neck depth. Now for the neck depth, I wanted to make sure that it was at least slightly lower than the front one, because one of your neck depths should be lower. So I went ahead to mark it, and after marking that, I went ahead to decide where I wanted the illusion or the net or the tool to stop for the back. So I was using skin net or skin tool or skin mesh, whatever you want to call it, and this is where I wanted it to be. But I decided to add an arc just a little bit so that there's a little bit of back showing as well. Nothing too serious, nothing dramatic. So after doing that, you want to label all your pieces. So I have the center back, the side back, and of course I labeled the other part, the center back as well, the top part. It is part of the center back, to be fair, but obviously it's not really center, if we're being honest. Now take out the paper tape on the lower part, and this time again mark 1 centimeter. So I know before for the front I said if you marked 1.5 centimeter or 1, but this one I'll just say 1 because it already fits, but we're just kind of making it snatched, you get. So go ahead and draw it all the way down and blend it all the way to the apex, and cut it out as shown, just a little bit. You don't want it protruding because there's no breast at the back, but you do need it to kind of just follow the shape of the back. Cut out the pieces as shown, and then go ahead and label. So for the center back, or for the neck back piece, I didn't want to get confused, so I went ahead to write the part that was the neckline and the direction of flow. Ideally, when you're making patterns, you should write all your directions. Now we're going to go ahead and start cutting fabric. So again, if you don't remember that this video is a continuation from the last one where we made the skirt piece, we should have some scrap fabric, and that's what I'm using. Go ahead and pin your pieces, mark out the sewing allowance, and cut out the pieces. The sewing allowance I recommend is 1/2 inch on all sides, and then on the major sides like the side back or the center back where there'll be a zipper, you put 1 inch. So go ahead and mark out all your sewing allowances and cut it as shown. We're going to do the same thing for the front. Now when it comes to the center front, we already know that the sewing allowance all around the center front is 1/2 inch. So on the center front, 1/2 inch all around. Meanwhile on the side front, it's going to be 1 inch around the side seam area and 1/2 inch all around. Now after cutting out all the pieces, we're going to repeat the same thing for the lining as well as the stay piece as well, or the interface rather. Some people call it air stay, but yeah, interface piece as well. So this is what it looks like when I'm laying it on the lining, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I cut the exact same thing. Pinning is very important. I cannot emphasize how important it is to pin. So make sure that you pin and your fabric is flat, and then go ahead and cut out all your pieces. After doing this for the lining, like I said earlier, repeat the exact same thing for the interface. Now after cutting out all my pieces, this is what it should look like. The next type of pieces we're going to be cutting, or the next pieces we're going to be cutting, is the piece of tulle or skin mesh, or whatever you want to call it really. So go ahead and place your tulle on the table and cut it. Now for me, when I'm using tulle, I tend to double the tulle. I prefer it that way. I feel like it's neater to sew. However, some people just use 1 layer of tulle. Whatever works for you, whatever floats your boat, go ahead and do that. But like I said, I prefer to double, so I've gone ahead to fold this into like 2, and then I folded it again so that I have like 2 pieces at the same time when I cut it out. Pin your pieces onto the tulle, and as you can see, the center front must be at the center front. It's really important that you put that at the center front and not everywhere. Mark out the sewing allowances. Now for tulle, as a rule of thumb, I generally use a sewing allowance of about 1 centimeter or 1.5 centimeters, just because I don't want it too much. So basically something less than 1/2 inch really, and that's because I use a French seam to finish off my tulle sewing. However, whatever works for you, 1/2 inch and whatever. Now after cutting out all the pieces, this is what it looks like. You have the front pieces to the left and all the back pieces to the right. Now we're going to be starting with the front pieces. Let's take the main center front, piece 2 and piece 3, if that makes it easier. Now we're going to be starting with the main fabric for each of them, and you want to make sure that by now you must have ironed your interfacing onto your lining by now for all of them. I forgot to say that earlier. So this is what it should look like, and starting from the bottom, you want to pin it in place, and then you want to go ahead and sew it. So the center front is going to be in the middle, and then you put the side pieces on each side, and you go ahead and sew it in place. One important tip while pinning this is to make sure that you follow the curve all the way. So while pinning and sewing, ensure you follow the curve as shown on this, on the center front and side front pieces. Now go ahead and sew. For the sewing, I'm using my Janome HD9 Professional sewing machine, and like I said, this machine sews like butter. So if you're looking to invest in a really good sewing machine, make sure you get this, guys. I promise you, you will not regret it. It's an absolute, it's a beast. She is a beast. Yeah. All right, guys, so go ahead and sew the pieces together. Make sure you sew, the center front should be in the middle, and then you sew the side front on the left and side front on the right. After sewing this is what it looks like, and as you can see, I went ahead to repeat the exact same thing for the lining piece as well. And I just wanted to show you guys what, if the vision is still visioning. So this is the applicator that I'll be using. I went ahead to place it on it just to see if it looks okay, and I think that the vision at this point, the vision was still going ahead. I have a tendency to change my mind often, so it's important that I keep checking and I make sure that it looks like what it looked like in my head. So we're going to start with the back pieces as well, and by this point you must have ironed on the interfacing onto the lining fabric for the back. Now for the back pieces, lay your pieces on the table and then go ahead and pin the center back to the side back and sew it in place. Now after sewing the lining and the main fabric pieces, it's now time to work on the skin colored tulle pieces. So we're going to go ahead and take that, start with the center front, unpin all your pieces, and then go ahead and open it up. So I don't know if you guys remember, but when we're cutting, we cut out 2 pieces, so you should have 2 pieces even though it doesn't look like it. Go ahead and sew around the neckline, that's just the front part, and sew it in place. Like I said, if you're like me, use a French seam, but if you prefer, use a regular seam. It's all good, it will still look nice. Now again, for the back piece, you should have 4 pieces, and we're going to take 2 each, and we're going to go ahead and sew the neckline as well as the arc area. So just the neckline and the arc, and again I like to use a French seam. Now after sewing with a French seam, here's what it looks like at the back. So when I had to sew only the neckline and the back, I left the shoulders and I left the armhole area free. And then for the front pieces, after sewing only the neckline, here is what it looks like. So now we're going to fix the front piece, the front tulle piece onto the front piece of the main fabric. I know it's a bit confusing. Starting from the middle, pin the tulle to the main fabric as shown, and then we're going to go ahead and start from the armhole area and pin it. And the reason why I like to secure the middle in place is so that it doesn't move or it doesn't get distorted. And then also start from the armhole area as well and work your way all the way to the middle. Make sure you ease it in, there are no pleats, and everything looks nice and nice and even. Now I have to say that this part gets a bit hard because it is a bit tight to sew, and even though I chose this over the sweetheart neck, it's almost as difficult as well, but you guys got this, you guys are good. All right guys, so after doing that, I went ahead to sew it on the sewing machine just to hold it in place, and we're going to go and do the same thing for the back piece as well. So for the back piece, you just want to go ahead and place the back tulle in between the front piece, in between the main fabric and the lining, and sew it in place like a sandwich. And I've done one of it already, and I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like. So place the right tulle, make sure it's towards the armhole area in between the main fabric and the lining, and then go ahead and cover it with the lining as shown, and then go ahead and sew it in place. So just follow the as shown on the screen. And after sewing the front one, this is what it looks like. So again, we're going to cover this with the lining, and it's a bit tricky in this case, but just the same way we did for the back, you're going to bend the tulle over, right, and then we're going to place the lining over on it, right? But quick check again, let's just see if we're like on track with the vision, just to make sure that again this is looking like what we thought it would look. Okay, it looks all right. Well, I don't know, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. So like I said, fold it over like so, like the tulle fold over, and then go ahead and place the lining piece on the main fabric. Now I know it looks funny and the tulle is sticking out, but when you're doing this, make sure the tulle is not sticking out. Hold it with pins if you must, and then go ahead and cover the lining, sew it in place. Now guys, at this point, this is what the back piece looks like. It's all been done, and I went ahead to top stitch the back piece as well, and the front piece actually, to make it look nice. So after finishing with the tulle, this is what it looks like. Alright guys, so lay the finished front piece on the back piece as shown, and then go ahead and open it up. Take the main pieces together of the fabric and then pin it in place, and also take the lining pieces as well, just as shown, and pin it in place. Repeat that for the other side, and that way we'll sew the side seam. You also want to make sure that you sew the shoulders in place as well. And like I said, for the shoulders, I prefer to use French seam, but if you want to sew the shoulders with a normal seam, that is absolutely fine. After doing that, this is what it looks like. You know, your fabric is looking good, and give it a good iron, and at this point this is what it looks like. All right guys, so for this I'd say to add sleeves to it, and if you want to know how to add sleeves, I have a tutorial showing you how to cut and add sleeves. I will link it in the iCards above and description box, but this is what it looks like, you know, while after I added sleeves. If you don't want sleeves, or if you want shorter sleeves, whatever the sleeves you want, you can do that. Now to join this to the skirt that we made earlier, and again, if you haven't seen the video of how I made the skirt, go ahead and watch the first part. I'll link it in the iCards as well as in description box, and it will be at the end credits as well. So notch the midpoint of the skirt and notch the midpoint of the front of the top piece, and then go ahead and mark the notch to each other. After marking the notches to each other, you're going to go ahead and pin all the way from the midpoint to the ends where the zippers will be. You want to make sure that your side seam match, and you want to make sure that all darts at the back match as well. Now remember that on the front piece there is no dart on the front skirt, and that's because we did a slash and spread, and some of you guys said you wanted more slash and spread videos, and I promised to give you that. Now after sewing the sides, sewing the top to the bottom, here's what it looks like, and as you can see, the darts match and everything is looking good. Go ahead and finish it off with a zipper, and I'm not going into details in this video on how to sew a zipper. If you want a separate video on that, let me know in the comment section, and I'm happy to do a video for you. However, like I said in this video, I wouldn't be going into details on how to fix a zipper. So go ahead and fix a zipper, and this is what the dress is looking like right now, guys. At this point, as you can see, it looks really snatched. Yeah, and if I can say so myself, I think it looks good. Now don't worry about the armhole area that is sticking out and it is not finished properly. I used my Janome Air Thread machine, and I was able to finish up the stitch and finish up the ends and make sure that it was nice and neat. The next thing to do is to pin the applique onto the dress, and obviously the best way to do this is to do that while it's on your body or while it's on a dress form or a mannequin that is similar size, just so that it fits nicely and you can see where it will be pinned to. Unfortunately, I don't have a dress form at the moment, so I went ahead to pin it on my body. And just make sure that you're careful, guys. Just a quick disclaimer, if anybody pins themselves to their dress, I'm not going to be held responsible. All right guys, I was just joking, but please be very, very careful. Make sure not to pin yourself or prick yourself with a pin. So go ahead and pin it in place when you're happy with the result. At this point, your dress is nearly finished. Oh well, I lied. Well, at this point, majority of the work is nearly finished. You still need to hand sew or hand tack all the appliques to the dress, but as you can see, it's looking really nice. The event is the next day. I'm excited. It's at this point, it's probably like 1 a.m. or something, but I was like, this dress must be finished. I also couldn't decide if I wanted that at the midpoint of the waist point or the neckline, but you know, I ended up going with the neckline. So guys, after pinning, you want to make sure that you pin properly, and as you notice, I was just checking that all the seams were meeting each other, and they were. So now I noticed that I pinned to the lining, and I don't want it coming out on the lining. I want all my sewing to be in between the lining and the main fabric, so I didn't want any sewing visible when you're looking at the lining piece or when you're looking at the inside of the dress. I needed it to be neat and, you know, all crisp. So I went ahead to pin it properly, and then I went ahead to cut out any, you know, loose grain tool on the applique. So I was using my seam ripper, and I was cutting out all the loose grain tool. Now after doing that, I went ahead to stick my needle and thread in the exact color of my dress and applique, and I went ahead to hand tack it while watching, you know, some series on Netflix. I was just watching Netflix, and this was my idea of Netflix and chill. Alright guys, at this point I was honestly very tired, you know, but I had to wear the dress the next day, so I knew I had to finish it. So after about 2.5 hours of tacking, I came to an end and I finished, you know, tacking the dress in its entirety. So I went ahead to finish the hem, and for the hem I had to add a little bit to mine, but when you're sewing yours, please make sure it's slightly longer so you're not having to deal with this. I checked out all the seam and I was happy with the result. I went ahead to overlock it. I, you know, tidied everything up, and I used like a steamer to iron out all the creases. And this is what the dress looks like when I wore it at the Brits award, or when I wore it to the Brits award. This is what it looks like. The Brits award was loads of fun, and I'm so grateful to YouTube for taking me. And thank you to you guys, because you guys are absolutely amazing. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it was worth your while. Let me know in the comment section if you enjoyed watching it, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Also, if you've not subscribed, please don't forget to subscribe. We are on the road to 50k, and with you guys I can do this. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye.